What's up guys, my name is Zero Heroes and welcome back to more Gates of Hell, and today we have got a faction review for you. Yes, something very exciting I've kind of wanted to look at today, and that is the American faction. Now, if you remember, I think it was last week, I did a video on the announcement on the new DLC and how the Americans could possibly, is a possibility of a new faction within the game. Well, most likely it will be. So today I have got the American faction with you, and let me tell you, it looks very exciting. Now, may I remind you that this is not the this is going to absolutely spoil it, but this is not the actual American faction. This is a modded server or a modded faction where it is the American, but I want to review it to see if this mod could possibly be the same as the upcoming American faction, and whether you guys agree that this could be like the vehicles, the infantry that will be included into this new faction. So let's just quickly have a look here and let's go through it. So as you can see, we have kind of starting off with some basic, some basic infantry and some AT guns and all that. Now this is the early version of the American faction, so it's kind of split up into three sections. So you've got the early version, you've got the mid version, and you've got the late section. So the early being, the early parts of the war, early part of the American built faction, and you got the middle, and you get the rest of it. So let's have a look at the kind of the early part. Now, I believe that this mod, some of the vehicles here in infantry are taken from I believe from Men of War Assault Squad 2, so like the M3 Lee, and I believe most of these I think are taken from Men of War Assault Squad 2. But let's have a look to see what possible and most likely vehicles and infantry will be included into this new American faction. So let's start off with the infantry. So I have brought out today Rangers, I have brought out the Marines, and I've brought out the Airborne, I believe. Yeah, so these are the three infantry groups that I believe will be coming into this game, and I've just completely I've just ruined the line. I've just completely ruined this awesome line that's been given. Anyway, Rangers start off with M1 Grands, and they're kind of basic. They do come with a Springfield, or these guys do come with like a shovel, so they do kind of build sandbags and all that. You can see like the clothing that they wear, you can tell them they wear the traditional World War II American helmets, which you can see pretty normal. But then you move on to the Marines, which to be honest look quite modern for kind of a World War II outfit. But as you can see, like their camo is more of kind of like a muddy atmosphere. As you can, I don't know, the way it kind of looks like it kind of lines up with kind of like your foresty, or even just your, I don't know, your wet kind of. I've really no idea how to explain this kind of skin. Let me know in the comments down below what kind of environment you believe this could be. And then lastly, and by the way, these guys carry is the M1941 Johnson rifle. So, and also I believe they carry a Thompson gun as well. So I believe these are kind of like the type of guns that the Marines carry. And lastly, let's move on to the Airborne, which definitely kind of suit more of like a samurai kind of vibe I'm getting from these uniforms here. Again, this could be subject to change, so anything is possible, but the Marines look a lot more equipped than the other two squads. So these guys, this has a BAR, like a large machine gun, with kind of like a stand, kind of like a, what do you call it, I don't know, like a stand that helps it focus or get better aim. They also carry M1 Grands with a mix of Thompsons, and I believe kind of like their helmet is kind of like a grassy kind of foresty environment, as you can see, which is really, really cool as well. So those are the infantries that I believe could be coming into the game. Let's kind of look at the vehicles and anti-tank guns. So I believe kind of I believe that the 37mm AT gun M3 will be introduced into the game, especially into the early versions of the game, considering how kind of small it is and the caliber of gun and how kind of the age of the gun kind of fits in with the early section. You've also kind of move on to kind of maybe the slightly bigger guns, such as the 275mm. 175mm and 105. I believe the 75 could possibly, but I think that might come in a later stage. I think it'll be the 37mm gun and a 45. Now in this section, this mod carries 37, 75 and another 75 howitzer and 105, but I believe the 75mm and 105 might come into the mid section of the American faction, and I think it'll be like 37s, 45s, and actually I think possibly even a 75mm gun, but I don't think 105mm will be added. I think that might be maybe into the special sections here, but I don't think it'll be added into the early section of this unit. So, and then you've also kind of got your scout cars, which I firmly believe will be added into the American faction. I don't know if it'll be something like this, but I kind of hope it does, because it's really cool. You've kind of got like 3 machine guns, one at the front, one at the side, and one at the rear, and also you can carry, I believe, infantry, I think, possibly, or not. No, I don't think you can, but I believe this scout car will come in. Also, I believe like something like this, like the Willys 30 cal, again just a wee scout car, which I believe will definitely be added into the early section of the American faction, and I strongly believe this could be a very good scout car for just kind of YOLOing this thing into just the enemy, just to see what troops or any snipers they have. Kind of going on to the kind of the main vehicles now. So I firmly believe that the M3A1 Stuart, the M2A4 and the M2A1 are all going to be into this game. Now I did have an M5 Stuart, although I don't know where it's gone. Did I not pull one out? Okay, there's not an M5 Stuart, so I believe that there'll be an M5 Stuart as well into this, but they've only got in this mod there's only M3A1, the M2A4 and the M2A1, which will, again, I firmly believe that these will be added into this part of the unit, this early section, just because of when these type of vehicles were built in the time. So I think this is kind of maybe the start of the war, so 1939 to 1940, so I believe that these kind of vehicles will be added into it, as well as the M5 Stuart, which is actually in the medium section of this mod, but I believe it'll be in the early part of that. And then one of the main vehicles that's kind of been added is the M3 Lee. Now I don't believe that this tank will actually be in the early mod. It will be in the early faction, but you never know. Gates of Hell could surprise us with the amount of vehicles, because Gates of Hell, when they've released like the Russian and the German factions, some of the vehicles were completely new compared to Men of War Assault Squad 2, so you never know. But I don't think the Gates of Hell or Bar shooters will add in this tank, but I'm not sure. But if they do, it does kind of fit in with this kind of early section of the mod. So of the faction, I keep calling it mod, of the faction coming up, that part of the DLC. So I firmly believe, because the M3 Lee is quite a powerful tank. It has like a main 75mm gun with a miniature, I can't remember, it looks like a 37 possibly, I can't remember the top of my head. So, and you've also got like machine gun ports at the top, and then you've got one at the wee side here. So there's actually, this tank could be very useful, although the problem is it's kind of like the gun is not like a turret, so if you want to move the 75mm gun, you have to move the whole tank. So just be aware of that when kind of using this tank, if this tank does come into the American faction as part of the DLC. So again, something I don't think they'll add, but I really hope they do. So you guys, that is the early faction, the early unit of this faction. Let's have a look now at the medium section. The medium section, I don't know why I call it a section, the medium part of the American faction, or mid part of it, which will tell us whether, again, possibly we will the words are difficult to say, you know, anyway, just you know, I've just gone too far. I've just fucked it. What I mean is, let's go have a look at the mid part of the American faction, and possibly we can start seeing some your major parts of the American faction, which is your M4 Sherman. So let's have a look. Alright guys, so here we are in the mid section of the, I don't know, I keep call it a section, mid unit or mid, I don't know, mid part of the American faction. Now again, as you can see that this is the mod, so most of these kind of details will be taken from Men of War Squad 2, so the details of these tanks or infantry could be completely different. You don't know. So the tanks that I believe that are going to be coming into the, you know, into the game, into the faction, is of course your very famous, your M4A1 Sherman. Now they do have different variants of Shermans, but I really hope Gates of Hell have been really good in the details of types of vehicles or types of infantry you can do. So I'm really hoping they kind of carry this suit on, where they bring on like different types of Sherman. So I believe they'll firmly bring out the M4A1 Sherman, you know, your very typical kind of your first ever Sherman released by the American factions, one of the most popular tanks in history. And then you're kind of with the 75mm gun, and then you have your M5A1 Stuart, which I believe kind of hope will maybe come out in the early section and not the mid section of the war, of the faction. So again, this something will probably come out early. Again, it'll be a lot more up to date and more kind of, you know, the details and skins will be a lot more up to date with this. You've got your M4A3 Sherman, which is a lot different because you can see you know, the M4A1 is kind of a lot more early, but it still kind of fits in with it. But I believe the M4A3 one is, again, I firmly believe it will be into this, and all the Shermans that are actually here will be fit in. So you've got your kind of your main M4 Sherman, which actually I believe, this is the main one that I believe was the most important and vital tank of the war, that really helped the Americans kind of grow, although it was kind of no match for Tigers and Panthers, and it really struggled against them. But really, it does, you know, this is the main one that I believe will come into kind of the mid section. But although I'm thinking that the M41 might come in the early section of the faction unit, so you don't know. And then the M8 Scout, again, I believe, even though that this is coming to the mid section, I believe this will come out if Gates of Hell do add it, or Barbara Shadows. I hope they add it into the early section. Again, they're very detailed in what they sprawl out into details about certain tanks and all this. So I believe, again, this is another tank that I hope they kind of bring out as well. And also, last thing I forgot to go up with the infantry, with the tank, or two more things, is the 75mm. Now in this mod, they only had the 75mm, was it M5, but now they've kind of brought out the 75, so there's two variants of 75mm guns. So I think one's like a large artillery and one's just an AT gun. So again, I really hope this kind of again, I believe that this 75mm, you have more options with 75mm guns in the mid section of it. And then lastly, your kind of your artillery pieces, which of course is your M12 artillery piece. Again, I really hope they kind of bring out kind of tanks and all that. Well, they do, because Gates of Hell, I believe Germany has, is it a grill, I think, or I could be wrong, I don't know, but I know they do have like artillery tanks, if that makes sense. So I really hope they kind of bring out kind of their M12, and then the Russian version of this kind of like the Katusha, but it's American. So, and sorry, I kind of just want to just fire this off, just kind of how cool it is. So I'm sorry, I really just wanted to fire it off just to see, because it was really cool. And then if you press 2, you can actually use the other one. Oh, please add this in. Please add this vehicle in. I don't know if it's a real thing or not, but please add this vehicle in. It needs to be done. This is better than any Katushka. It's got like freaking 2 launchers out of it. So yeah, something that definitely needs to be added as well. Onto the infantry now. I only brought one group of infantry now. I firmly believe if you look here, the light infantry, the regular infantry, and a heavy regular squad, I believe all 3 of these will be in the early, mid, and late section of the faction, but the kind of the additional one, so we've seen the US Marines, the Airborne, and the Rangers, but the new one is the Para Marines, which are kind of, I guess, like kind of, I know, lower versions of the Airborne, or slightly above the Marines, the kind of way I'm looking at it, and the way that they've got Johnson rifles, and the kind of the way their outfits are, is that, again, they're kind of more suited for desert type. I can't zoom in anymore, but as you can see, it kind of looks like it's coming from more of a desert type of skin, and they've also got Thompsons as well as more just rifles, and I believe they can build more sandbags, more foxholes as well. So again, I kind of really hope. Also they do carry a machine gun, or it says a machine gun, or a BAR. So again, I really hope they kind of, when Power Studios bring out their American faction, I really hope it's kind of something along these lines of the types of infantry, such as the Marines, the Airbornes, and the Rangers. Definitely those. I don't know about the Para Marines. I'm not kind of heard of I think I've heard of them before, but they're not, I would say, the regulars that I've heard of, unlike the Marines and the Airbornes and the Rangers. So I really hope they do kind of follow this kind of suit as well. And that really kind of Russia. Also, you do have kind of different types of special ones, like 107mm mortar, which again, it would be very cool, but let's just try it on the artillery here, on the M12 mortar, or the M12. Wow, that just destroyed they just destroyed that. So yeah, I really hope they kind of add like different types of mortars, because here, as you can see, you've got an 81mm mortar, and then you've got the 107mm mortar. So again, I really hope Barbara Studios, when they do bring out the faction, I want like different variety of, of units, of the same units, but different, calibers and all that, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, lastly, there's one more faction, not faction, there's one more kind of unit section to look at, which is a late. And let me tell you, these are looking at some most impressive and definitely looking to be, hopefully, definitely most looking promising tanks and infantry to be in the game. So let's have a look at that. Alright guys, so welcome to the main event, the main section of, of the main battle. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Anyway, this is probably one of the most exciting units for me, or sections, because it's late in the war and you're starting to get your most powerful tanks and most powerful AT guns and artillery pieces. So definitely the most exciting for me. Now, for infantry wise, you're not getting anything more, just because the way that this mod works, but I believe there will be more infantry units coming in. I have no idea what they could be, but with these infantry units right here, I think these really ones are the main ones I think could be added. But in the special unit here, you get another type, you get 2 other types of units, such as the Rangers 2, or Ranger, and you've also got Scouts. So with the Scouts, they consist of 4 infantry troops, and they carry pistols. I think they're silencers. No, I don't think they actually have silencers on it. So they carry, well, one of them carries a bazooka or RPG, which is very good, because that means you can sneak up on a tank and try and blow them up. And I can't really see close enough, but I can probably tell that they're definitely pistols with, I don't know if silencers were made in World War II. I think they were. I'm not sure. You're gonna have to let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, these guys are really good for sneaking up. You can't build anything, any foxholes, but they do have like TNT, so very, very high dangerous explosives, which again could hurt the tanks. But they are very, they're not very well armored, so as soon as you get shot or spotted, you're going to have to pull them back. but I think overall these are a really good unit to use if they do come into the game, which I think they will. I think this will be, again, a special type of unit, or I think actually which will be added into the main section here, which will definitely be useful and not added into the special sections. Kind of looking at one of the main infantry units here, which these are called Ranger. Now, they're different from your Rangers. So the Ranger is that these guys are, I think, well, of course they wear different uniforms. I believe I think they're a lot more thick, you know, armored as well, a lot more prepared. So these guys actually carry bazookas as well. Two of them carry bazookas, as well as a mix of M1 Grands and a B-arm light machine guns, two of them actually, as well as some Thompsons, I believe, or one of them carries an M1A1 carbine as well. So a mixture of weapons. I think that's the difference, is that with the Rangers they carry maybe one or two of the same guns, whereas these guys have a mixture of different guns, such as RPGs, light machine guns, rifles. That's kind of really the main difference. I think these guys are stronger than your Rangers, but also they carry a lot more different range of weapons, which will be better suited for different situations on the battlefield. Moving on to kind of the AT guns, is that you've got, and now you're kind of going up a caliber, so you don't have your 75, now you've got a 76mm, which again I did find in the main section here. So this one is actually looks really good, because once you put sandbag down, you're actually really well protected. But because this thing is so big, it's got kind of these two shield plates at the side that do protect you from low caliber guns, such as maybe like your Chaffees, or even your scouts, you know, your M5, not scouts, your M5 Stuarts, and even, you know, the first Sherman, even you know, the first era of the Sherman. So definitely a scary target, and could probably deal a lot of damage to like your Panthers, your Tigers, even possibly. I don't know about KV2s I don't know about the Russians. We'll have to see. But if you do ever get in it, this thing is probably one of the most deadliest AT guns in this AT gun unit here, in this AT section. Again, they will be adding probably different variants of 76mm guns and different variants of, you know, calibers as well. So, but I think this is I believe that this is going to be a good recommendation for anybody you know, anybody to use, as well as it will probably be added into the American faction. Looking at the rest of the Chaffees, the Chaffee, again, another vehicle. You're kind of, I believe this was in the midsection, but didn't show off because I thought it'd be a waste of time. But just briefly, it is kind of a scout tank. You know, it's got a 75mm gun, nothing too special, lightly armored, fast, and yeah, nothing too special to it. Now you're kind of moving on to the main one, which is your Hellcat. Again, this was taken from Men of War Assault Squad 2. So I believe, hopefully they do bring Hellcats, and I believe there's two different variants of Hellcats. One's kind of got an open top, one's got a cover on it, I believe, unless I'm talking completely. Well, I know there's a Super Hellcat, and I know there's an M18 Hellcat, but I can't remember off the top of my head what that is. Next, kind of moving, you have your M4A3, but this time it's with a 105mm gun, so it definitely deals a lot more damage to its, you know, primary, you know, ammunition is HE. So again, this is something that I do hope this will be kind of a variant of the Sherman that would be brought in as well. Next, your Jumbo, absolutely. If they don't add this in, then I don't know what Barbarian Studios would be thinking. But definitely Jumbo are, again, a really crucial tank as part of the war. Really well armored because of its sloped angle here at the front, which can take shells from T-34s, can take it from Panzer 3s, Panzer 4s. I'm stretching here when I say Panzer 4s. Panthers will definitely be a tough match for this, but your Panzer 4s and 3s will struggle to get through this. But again, a really important tank, which I definitely think will be added. Then you've got the M4A3-876, or known as the famous Fury tank. I believe, although it would be nice if they had this and the Fury tank. I think you can get that in another game. I can't remember which other war game it is, but I know you can get like a Easy 8 and then you can also get a Fury. So if they added this, and then even though it's kind of like the same tank, but if they added like a Fury version where it would be really cool to kind of add that, and my phone's buzzing and pissing me off. So yeah, really cool to add there, and definitely will be added. Next is a different type of AT gun. You've got 105mm 105 M3, which is more of a howitzer. So we did see AT, we did see the 105, you know, AT gun, but now we've got 105 kind of like a mortar, or kind of like a howitzer. So definitely a really scary tank. Can take out a bunch of infantry, take out mortar emplacements, AT emplacements, even some tanks, even if it's powerful enough. And then you have your Sherman, sorry, your Pershing, your M26 Pershing, probably one of the most deadliest tanks in Men of Warsaw Squad 2, but also in this mod as well. Just listen to how it sounds. Whew, some deadly stuff there. So I really hope hopefully they'll be adding this into the game. And also I'm hoping it adds in the Super Pershing, which has kind of got more kind of frontal armor. It's got kind of frontal plates. I think it's, well, this has a 90mm gun, but I think the Super Pershing has I think Super Pershing has a 90mm as well. So yeah, I'm hoping they definitely add the Pershing as well as the Super Pershing, and I believe this will be again another tank that'll be added in. The Slugger. Now this is kind of like an upgraded version of the Wolverine, but it's got a bigger gun, same as the Pershing, a 90mm, and it's just, but it's a lot slower and it has thicker armor. I don't know if they'll be adding this into the American faction. I doubt it, just because it's more, it's kind of like a tank that you don't hear about a lot when you kind of look up the history of tanks. So you will hear it, but you won't hear as much as like the Shermans or Super Pershings or the Pershing. So I don't know if the tank will be added, but I really again hope this tank will be added into a game or a similar vehicle to this. Next you have the M43 I don't know how to pronounce that, the Calliope, which is a tank. You can fire the main guns, but also it does have kind of those rocket launchers at the top. If you press number 4, and it'll just go off like crazy. You do need to click though. Actually no you don't, but I don't know why they're not loud. I can barely hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but as you can see, it just goes off like crazy. Again, I would definitely hope that this is a tank that'll be added in, as it is quite powerful and will destroy it'll destroy infantry emplacements, it'll destroy you know, any type of emplacements, even tanks, lightly armored tanks, or even track heavily armored tanks, so it can be more of a distraction role. But as you can see, just absolutely just bombarded that one place with shells. As you can see, you can see by evidence right there how deadly it is. So I'm definitely hoping this will be a tank that'll be added as well. Kind of similar to the Jumbo, but it's got the hull of it, but it's got kind of like a normal Sherman turret, and of course a big ass thing attached to it as well, the rocket launchers. And lastly, the most awkward one of them all is the LVT4. It's a submarine. It's basically, it can go in water. That's what it is. It's got a howitzer gun, so again it'll deal with kind of your infantry, your lightly armored vehicles. It'll do nothing to Panthers or Tigers, to maybe track them or damage slightly the crew, but this is used for amphibious, for kind of going through water, and it'd be really useful if you're trying to get through some water, you know, a large lake, and your infantry take a long time, and then the infantry can just go in the back, and then this thing will be brilliant just to swim across. Again, I don't know if this tank will be added into the game, just because of how how unpopular it is, but knowing that kind of Men of Warsaw Squad 2 and Gates of Hell kind of have similar gameplay style. Oh, I just ruined my microphone. They have similar, I don't know, they have similar vehicles to each other, but I think Gates of Hell is a lot more detailed with its vehicles, and adds a lot more finesse to types of vehicles in the infantry, but I don't think this one will be added in. But there you go, guys. That is the American faction in a nutshell. In the early unit, the mid unit, and the end unit, the late unit. I don't know why my microphone keeps fucking up, but it does. So yeah, I hope you'd enjoy this. This is kind of like a preview of what to expect of the American faction, and I really hope Part Wise Studios kind of live up to the expectations, or even produce better vehicles and a lot more diverse vehicles than Men of War Assault Squad 2. But in the meantime, we'll just have to wait and see. But other than that, guys, what do you think of the American faction? Do you think it could be similar vehicles to these, or do you think there'll be completely new vehicles in Infantry? And oh gosh, what am I doing? My microphone. Oh no, I'm fucking it up. Ah, my hand's fucking it up. Sorry about that. I don't know what's happening with my life. Anyway, yeah, so what do you think in the comments down below? I really hope they do add most of the vehicles in here, but just make it a lot more detailed, but also have different variety of different units, and kind of different, you know, make guns a lot more detailed and better and sound a lot better as well. But other than that, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and Ostfront, and I will see you in the next video. See you later, and goodbye.